There we are. We are live. Hi, I'm your host. I'm Rex Sikes, and welcome to Create Your Best Life with Rex. Sitting next to me is Karen Rudolf. I'm going to tell you about her, and then I'm going to bring her back. So hang on, everybody, and we'll be right there. I want to tell you about Karen. But welcome to the show, where we explore transformation, personal growth, and holistic well-being with my guest today, Karen Rudolf, who is an inspiring force in stress reduction and personal development. She's known as the super stress reducer, and she's a 6-time international best-selling author, a speaker, a podcaster, a workshop leader, my friend, and she's dedicated to helping individuals overcome challenges and thrive. She's got a background in nursing and a wealth of certifications. She brings a unique, holistic approach to all of us through her 7 pillars of health. So I am delighted to welcome Karen Rudolf to Create Your Best Life with Rex. And here she is. How you doing, Karen?
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure and privilege to be actually here to be able to talk to you coming out of Hurricane Milton. That's going on there.
So the people who do not know, you're from Florida. You are now not in Florida, but there is a Cat 5, a second one within 2 weeks coming to the Florida area. Yeah. And so, you know what, Karen? I mean, this is the luck of the draw. We were going to be on September 25th, and the hurricane precluded us from doing the show.
Exactly.
So we canceled that, postponed it, scheduled this day.
Yeah.
And then you said, look, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be out of the state, so we can still do the show, because if you were in Florida, we might not be able to do it. Right. But how fortuitous to have you, whose work is helping people and dealing with stress at this time when there are countless thousands of people who are under the stress of the current situation and other things as well.
Right, exactly. And it's so sad for me because honestly, yeah, it's like life happens, life keeps happening. And coming out of last week, we had Hurricane Helene a week and a half ago that devastated all of North Carolina. There were people here who never even heard about it. It wasn't until I came to Colorado to be with my family here. And last night, this morning, actually, I ended up in the hospital with asthma, severe asthma, because I had no idea that Wyoming and Montana were wildfires. We don't hear about these things, and we wear blinders because we're so into the me, I conversation that we don't get to see what's going on around us. We don't get to ask for what we want or need. And more importantly, we don't get to know ourselves in the process because we're too busy watching everybody else and what is everybody else going to think. And I mean, it just goes, everything is interconnected. Everything is energy. Everything is interconnected. So a hurricane, after this last hurricane, as soon as I heard it, to be honest with you, I mean, I'll share from my experience. Watching Hurricane Helene devastate. It came up the coast of Florida. I live right below Tampa in Sarasota. It's been a dream place of mine since I came to Florida 40 years ago. It's they call it a little slice of paradise, and it's always avoided hurricanes. Well, Helene came up the coast. It skirted us, and it took out our Siesta Key. Has been the #1 beach in the country for years. It's completely flooded, devastated. Now, a week and a half later, we have Milton coming as a Cat 5. It's the biggest in the history of hurricanes over the last 100 years. There's going to be devastation. And I'm talking with a heavy heart because I had to leave loved ones behind. I left my horse, who I've had for 20 years, family. You know, it's just people make choices. And I remember calling my spiritual mentor and Saturday, and she said to me, "Are you going to leave?" And I'm like, "No, we've been through this before. We'll do." And that's the mentality of most people. And I went to the grocery store. People were picking up steaks, and I'm thinking to myself, "There's something wrong with this picture." I had an intuitive sense that something was off, and I just couldn't put my finger on it. And Then Sunday, I became somewhat lethargic, and I was sitting around. I wasn't doing anything. I usually am very busy, and I just wasn't doing a thing. And all of a sudden, I secure. I do a lot of self-talk. I've been doing this for years, and I do a lot of journaling as well. And I remember saying to myself, like, "What is this? Like, what's going on with you?" And all of a sudden, the word fear popped up, and I said, "Okay, dig deeper." When you ask the questions, the answers come. Most people don't know how to ask the questions, and they don't know what questions to ask. So I said, "Okay, what's the fear? Like, and is it fearful coming off a Hurricane Katrina and seeing all the devastation there? Or is this fear that this is like could be something really big?" And it was just starting to like be careful, but it might be coming in. We don't know where it's going, and all the spaghetti things were going on, and all of a sudden it came to me, get out, get out, do whatever you can and get out. And I remember taking out my suitcase. I called my daughter and I said, "Is it okay if I come out to Colorado, come be with you?" I called my daughter in Orlando because that my first thought was like, yeah, we've been through these before. Heavy winds. It's not so much the winds and the water, and it is, don't get me wrong, it's the tornadoes that spin off of them that become so deadly. And things are like torpedoes if it's not buckled down. Most people don't know what goes into preparation for that.
Well, can I interrupt you?
Oh,
It's a
please,
lot of people think about the stuff that's not,
yeah,
down, like the trees and the cars that go flying through the air.
yeah,
It was the movie Twister that first made me aware of all the little tiny things that go flying through the air, the little nails and nuts and bolts and screws and pieces of glass and twigs that are hurtling around at 90 miles an hour or worse that do lots and lots of damage. Um, Before we continue, let me just tell people who are watching that they can replay this through YouTube at the Create Your Best Life through Rex, or you can use the rexsikestv.com and get the replay there. That will always be available. But if you're watching live or in replay, go ahead and share the show, subscribe to the show, click the like buttons. And there's a chat room in different places, but I may not see them. Facebook has been really tough on StreamYard and on things. And so it's very difficult to know when and where or why it does or doesn't, propagate to Facebook. But LinkedIn, YouTube, and other places, hopefully if you comment or if you're watching somewhere and we can see your comments, please go ahead and comment and we'll put them up on the screen when we see them. And otherwise, I know that, people have commented and watched and because of what's going on with social media, we weren't able to see it. But I want to continue this with Karen. But you had said something earlier that I really want to kind of come back to if I can.
absolutely.
You said something to the effect, because it was a few moments ago, something to the effect that, people were buying steaks because they don't know what's going on. And, they're not aware of the things that are happening around them, kind of thing.
Yeah, well,
You become aware. I mean, in other words, this would be a good question for the people because there are going to be people who are sitting there right now going, well, I'm going to ride it out. And I would predict that this is just the first of many. I mean, the hurricane season is just starting.
yeah, goes through November in Florida.
Well, exactly. So, you've got another month, almost 2 months total, of potential hurricanes. And you've had two of the largest hurricanes in the history of Florida in the last, say, 10 days. Yeah. And the likelihood is more will continue. And ultimately the West Coast will get hit by these kinds of, I mean, it's not just an East, Coast phenomenon. So for people who are in their lives, and not just because they face hurricanes, but all the different kinds of things that contribute to stress or disorder or chaos or confusion, how do people become more aware so that they can live more consciously and be making better decisions instead of finding themselves, kind of like up the creek without a paddle when they needed one?
Exactly. Well, I like to use metaphors. And if you use the metaphor of a hurricane, if you've never experienced a hurricane, you've experienced perhaps a divorce, you've experienced financial failure, you've, relationships gone sour, you've experienced life-changing effects, which in essence can be your hurricane, right? If you're not, we're normally not prepared for it. And I always go back to Shakespeare in the play Hamlet. In 1633, he wrote a play Hamlet, And Hamlet says, to thine own self be true. It's also a biblical statement. When you are true to yourself and you know yourself, right? Not only do you know yourself, but you know others, right? You're not living in the shadows of other people. You're not worried about their thoughts, feelings, and opinions. It's just their thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And you get to stand in your authenticity, which is going to be your guiding light, which is going to support your decisions moving forward. Doesn't mean that fears won't come up. I was sitting in fear on Sunday, and then all of a sudden I was like, Karen, you do this for a living? Like, hello? I was like, oh yeah. And all of a sudden I was able to start shifting the energy, because it's energy, right? Energy is energy, emotions, energy in motion. So I was going down the emotion road really, really fast. And the further down you go, down that rabbit hole, the harder it is, the more challenging it is to get out of it. Doesn't mean you won't get out of it. Doesn't mean you can't get out of it, but you're not becoming resourceful. When you're identifying it, you have the ability to identify it, what's going on, label it. Sometimes labeling is the toughest thing because we don't think about our emotions. We don't think about how every emotion affects every part of our body. And that, for me, is where the health and holistic aspects come in. But we're being constantly bombarded day in and day out with networks and friends and churches and synagogues and, people we care about, deluging us in the internet, the news, well, this is the way to do it. Well, who says that we have to go that route? Swim upstream, be different.
So how do you rein it in? I mean, how do we become more aware and focused so that these things that are, because I love the hurricane metaphor, because there's a lot of stuff swirling around us, and maybe we're in the middle of it and don't notice it, but it's still swirling around us. And then there are those times when it passes over, and things get out of discourse. How do we change that? What can people begin to do now who are facing, whether it's a divorce or financial disaster or family problems or a hurricane? What can they kind of do to claim their lives back and live with more awareness and peace?
Right. Well, again, for me, it got back to really getting true to myself, being true to myself, and getting to know myself, getting to know my likes and dislikes, getting to know what serves the highest good for me. When you get on an airplane, it says put on your oxygen mask first. And for example, a lot of people that I serve are people pleasers, or they don't know what their passion purpose is. So if you're a people pleaser, you're putting everybody else first, right? And then you feel guilty about it. Is the guilt serving you? And when you start looking at what's serving you and the highest good for you, is it really serving you? What's the payoff you're getting from it? Right. And sometimes the truth hurts. But when you it's like a roller coaster. You go up the truth ladder, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it sucks. It's going to be Fast and Furious coming down. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're going to bottom out. I stand the chance of losing all of my worldly possessions there. But, right now, as this hurricane is catastrophic, comes through my home, and I can't be attached to it. I can't be attached to it. Do I feel sad about it? Absolutely. I worked long and hard for that. But I always say my health is my wealth. And if I don't take myself out of that equation, I can't create wealth. And wealth comes in forms of more than just money. It's relationships. Relationships to me are worth everything. So I got resourceful, getting back to source. Right. And that's really what supported me getting through my divorce. It supported me getting through my financial failures. It supported me going through, it blindly in the dark, not knowing. I don't need to know the how. All I need to know is what my next steps are, being right here now. Right. Wow. You can't eat the elephant when you're looking at it all the way out there going, oh my God, the sky is falling right now over Florida. It is. There's nothing I can do. I could have stayed at my home and gone, no, don't come to my house. No, it's not going to stop that. I'm going to get knocked down too. But then I'm not going to be here talking to you and sharing with you that it's not stress relief.
Right.
I hate to put a damper on it. It's stress mastery. When you master yourself, you master the stress. When you master your time, it's not time management. You cannot master time. It's here and now. That's all we have. Who are you going to become in the space of the here and now that's going to support you taking your next actionable step, that's going to get you forward and out of the funk and into a space of clearer skies. The sky is always going to clear up. I know the sky is going to clear up over Florida, right? I might not like what I'm going to see. I know I'm not going to like what I see, but then I could start from there and say, how can I start rebuilding? And who am I going to become as a result of this? Attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. Without a positive attitude, and people are like, oh, Karen, you're so positive. No, I'm not. I'm human. I have to choose. That's what God gave me free will for, right? I can choose to be miserable. What's the payoff? To be miserable. So when I was sitting there Sunday in fear, all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to take a shower. I have hair, right? And I'm taking a shower and I look at my hair, my hands, and there's like clumps of hair. That's stress. Right? My adrenals are failing. That's health and well-being. And I'm like, wait a minute, what am I committed to? And I do this for a living, right? So, and then of course I ended up on the commode a good portion of the day. And after you're on the commode for a while, it gets uncomfortable. How long do I want to sit in the uncomfort? Right? It's a choice.
Well, you said something that, people just don't get it. And I mean, we're cut from the same cloth when it comes to this, because for well over 40 years, I've been saying what research has demonstrated, that attitude is the number one predictor of success in every area of your life.
Yeah.
And yet most people still don't get it. It's the same kind of thing. Like a lot of people are sitting in Florida where there's a Cat 5 hurricane facing them because they just don't get around to leaving. They think, well, I'll be okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like why Napoleon Hill said only 2 out of 100 will ever take charge of their lives. Most people will just drift and accept whatever comes their way instead of taking charge of their lives and having the kind of life that they could have or deserve to have by making that happen. Because that's why I said it's think smarter, not work harder. And so attitude is that little thing that does make that incredible difference. And yet most people don't spend a significant amount of time developing their attitude and understanding that all of it, what you just said, is a choice. Because you can choose to go down the rabbit hole of despair, or you can choose to be as productive and positive and optimistic in the face of whatever hardship you are, right, so that you can see opportunities, resources, and possibilities that you would never otherwise see. Yeah. So you have 7 pillars.
Yes. I've been doing it for a long time.
7.
Yes.
And I don't want to prompt you into them, but but at the same time, I do want to say, your work is so significant. You help so many people that if we back off of the hurricane, although I'm not saying that it's not important, but if we start to focus on the pillars,
right, absolutely,
in light of the hurricane, or in light of whatever personal hurricane somebody's got going on, I think we could. We may not get to all of them anyway, but and then other people can find you, and they should find you, at your website, which is scrolling below. And by the way, I want to say hi to Mark. A shout out to Mark, who said he's listening to the show and transcribing a screenplay that he's been writing. And so thank you for that. The comments, people are able to leave comments, and some show up and some don't, and I don't know why. But again, go ahead and like and share and check the replay and visit Karen at that website that you see scrolling there. And so where do we start with the pillars? Pillar 1, pillar 5.
Okay, and all the pillars wrap around. They're all interconnected, just like energy, right? We're all connected. We're all part of the bigger whole of the universe. So when you look at the pillars, it's your again, I'm going to start with relationships. It's your relationship to self, first and foremost. Put on your oxygen mask first, right? And then it's how you relate to others, how you relate to your community, right? So when we look at relationships. When we look at your finances, that's part of well-being. Most people don't look at finances as a part of well-being. It is very much so, right? Where are you at? A lot of people don't know where they're at or where they're going. A lot of people don't even think to save for a future because they're in the now and now, spend, right? So then you have your health and well-being, your physical well-being. If you're not taking care of yourself and you're not doing what it takes to maintain your health and well-being, as I said earlier, my health is my wealth, as is yours, right? What you choose to do with that and how you choose to manage that is going to be really what you put in, you get out. What you focus on expands. So if I'm focusing on my health and well-being, I'm going to get a better result, right? So, and that goes across the board. We talked about relationships with self. Environment, right? Environmental. If your house is your immediate environment is a reflection of who you are within, as within, so within, as without, right? So if you're in an emotional turmoil, which is the other pillar, if you're in an emotional turmoil, it's going to not only be reflected within you and your thoughts and your feelings. And again, we want to get to that place of a positive attitude. You've got to deal with those. The emotions are mostly where I settle in. I do a lot of trauma clearing, the things that create our belief system that hold us back from becoming the positive, authentic people that we want to be. Communication for me is key. I didn't know what I didn't know when I was going through my journey, and we all have our journeys. It's what are we choosing, or whom are we choosing to become in that journey? So for me, every thought you think. All right, consider this. If everything is energy, every thought you think affects every cell of your body, right? And that's been proven scientifically. And if you go back and you look at Dr. Emoto out of Japan's study of water, your body's made up of 68% water, if not more. So as it's traveling through your body, and every thought you think is affecting every cell of your body, and every cell of your body is attached to every organ, right? Every organ is attached to ease or dis-ease. It's a choice, right? You get to choose to shift that illness. I mean, if it's way far beyond, there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me. But if you're at the beginning stages of that and you can catch it sooner than later and shift the energy and heal yourself. Your body is designed to heal. Right? I come from a background of relatedness where my mother was a hypochondriac, and she was on 19 medications when I found her on the floor. And that's what really prompted my journey moving forward, because the doctors weren't getting to the root cause. They were masking the symptoms, right? Go ahead.
No, you said so many things. You said so many things that are so valuable. One was, if you focus on your health and well-being, if you just were to do that and start taking care of yourself, everything else begins to improve as well.
Everything.
If you have good mental, emotional, physical health, that kind of thing, all the other areas of your life begin to improve. So if you would take care of yourself,
exactly,
that would be a first step. The other thing is that the body is designed to heal, and it heals. And people think that it's the medicine or the doctors or the procedures that do the healing, but it's not. It's the body that does it. You do the healing. Exactly. They might help facilitate it or interfere with it or whatever else, but it's if you scratch yourself, you don't have to do much for it to heal. It's just that's the automatic outcome of that scratch typically. Is that it will heal on its own. So, you talk about attitude, and you talk about, looking around, the kind of relationships you have, the kind of environments that you're in, and the kind of the ambiance of your life, I guess you would call it, that if you understood that you could choose a different way to think, you would be different.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I mean, you've shared so much. The other thing about the body may be 68% of water, but the brain is mostly water.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is where I love Rex. So thank you for pointing that out, because for me, breath work is everything. When I had my accident, I had a major accident down in Costa Rica. I think I shared this with you a while ago. And I just remember getting still, and the pain was excruciating. And I just got still and I started breathing, and I started breathing through it, and I concentrated on my breath, which lessened, right? It lessened the pain receptors in my body enough for me to oxygenate my brain so I can think clearly. And most people don't take that pause moment in life, and if you anything you do, whether it be any one of the 7 pillars, the more you practice, like going to the gym, the more you practice, the more you start mastering it, right? Your body starts showing results immediately. You master it, you're buff, or whatever you're looking to get towards. You have to start someplace and give yourself grace. Rome wasn't built in your day. Your body buffness wasn't built in a day. It takes practice. I always go back to a car, because most people drive, right? Nowadays, we all pretty much drive. And I'll say to my clients, you remember the first time you got behind the car and your dad or your mom gave you the key, or whoever it was, that significant person was, and you looked at them and you held the key in your hand and you're doing one of these numbers, like, what do I do with it? What do I do first? Do I do the safety belt? Do I do them? What do I do first? And you're this nervous wreck, right? With any one of the pillars. Health and well-being and emotional, obviously, is my jam. If you stop and pause and don't look at so much the how, just start doing something. Put the key in the ignition, start the car, then mess with your mirrors, make sure your safety belt is on. It's like getting in an airplane. The pilot does his whole safety check every single time he gets on that airplane. He's done it a gazillion times. He still does the same thing. And now today, you go, the first time you're driving, you're like, one of these is going down the road. Now you get in the car, you don't even think about it, because you've mastered that skill set. Everything is a skill set. Everything is an experience. We draw from our experiences that which is going to support us and take us to the next level and become the authentic, better version, best version of ourselves. And then what are you going to do with that? Right? It's nice to get to be good and best, but what are you going to do with all of that? It's a choice.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. You know what? We're at the halfway point of the show. I mean, it's flown by. It really has. So we're at that halfway point. I just want to again remind viewers to leave comments, share, like. If this is speaking to you, share it to other people so that they too can benefit from the suggestions and the tips and the powerful, examples that Karen is providing us. I mean, because if we keep it to ourselves, nobody else gets to benefit. And guess what? We're in the world together. So let's keep sharing. Wow. And I think that some people, when you were talking about pain and you said you got involved in your breath, a lot happens for people. And I say this a lot, if you stub your toe, the rest of your body is all fine. The toe hurts. But the attention goes to the toe because it's throbbing or hurting or whatever. And what happens for a lot of people is they don't go, it'll be okay. And they do breath work and they choose to transform it. They go, it hurts. And they just keep the hurting alive because one, they're focusing on it, and then two, they're affirming it, they're saying it, they're declaring it, they're going, oh my God, it hurts, I can't believe how much it hurts. And then they tell everybody how much they're in pain. And so they keep this cycle going. And yet what you said was, I'm in a lot of pain. And so what I did was, in other words, you chose to do something to give yourself some relief. And that was to do your breath work, to work. So continue. I don't want to. But I think it's great. And the other thing is, you said the thing about the car, and I think what happens, with the car is now people want a magic wand and they want it to be different. But the car analogy is wonderful because no matter when you get in the car, even if there's a shortcut, it takes however long it takes for you to drive from one spot to another. Exactly. And no matter where you are along the journey, that's where you are.
Exactly, exactly. And there's going to be roadblocks, right? There are going to be roadblocks along the way. So what do? Are you going to sit there and freeze and wait for somebody else to move the log or whatever that roadblock is? No, you're going to one of two. You have choices. You can get out, move it, or attempt to move it yourself. You can create a team and ask the team to support you in moving it. You don't ask, you don't get. You don't knock, doors aren't open. Right? You could, I mean, there are a million things. If you take one thing, just one thing in your life that you want to shift right now, and you want to create resourcefulness about it, take a pen and paper and write down 50 things. Start with 50 things, 50 things that I could do to change this. So we're taking the log, right? So we got a team, we got attempting it ourselves. We could maybe have a rope in the car and we could put the rope around the log and pull the car back in reverse, right? We can go a different route. There are a million things, but we get so frozen, focused on what's in front of us that we don't see the bigger picture. And that's where we get caught up.
Wow. I mean, that is a great point that you're making there. And along with all the rest. So from there, where do we go next?
Oh, where do you go next? You call me. You call me, of course. We have a conversation, because what I do is I'm your journey guide, right? I like to consider myself the architect of your life. I support you in your world, and I meet you where you're at. So there's never any judgment. There's never any make wrong. It's like, what can we recreate together? I'll be the one helping you look for the 50 log, moving that out of the way kind of thing. And let's get creative with it. And, creating a life of fulfillment, a life you love. Yes, we're building, right? In architecture, we're building a house, right? We start with the ground floor. The ground floor can be sort of soggy and yucky and, but once we get through that, and you have a journey guide along with you, we start building the rest together, and it moves you forward, and you feel the sense of personal freedom. You feel the sense of like, wow, if that happens again, and that hurricane happens to me again, I know how to deal with it, and I know I'm getting out of town quicker than quick, right? And I'll be resourceful because I'll have other ways and means of managing all the stuff that, and you can't take it all with you. So what are you going to prepare yourself for when you do, whether it be divorce or your finances or relationship? What are you going to do? Because chances are it will happen again, because you're going to get the lesson over and over and over again until you learn it, until you choose to learn it and choose to do something different about it.
Wow. And we understand that, a lot of stuff can be going around, that people need to somehow take back their focus from off of the distractions, while at the same time increasing their awareness, and then focus on themselves and develop that they have a choice.
Right.
But then they have to actually make the choice, because a lot of people do know what's good for them, or what they should do, or what they could do, but they don't do that.
Exactly.
Is there anything that you recommend for someone to go?
Yes.
Here's how I make that next step. Here's how I take a charge when they're not accustomed to doing that.
Right. It's finding the courage within, absolutely, and it takes courage. And I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not. I've been down many roads. We've all had our experiences. Right? It takes making that one decision. It's not simple. Right? So excuse me for saying so. It's making a decision and sticking to it. It's like going down in your car and getting to that crossroads and making the decision that when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're going to choose a different route. And that's the first step. Once you start that down that road and you make that choice to make a decision to change life, your whole life, you'll just feel like a breath of fresh air, just like came in. And then you're going to go through that period of like, oh my God, what's next? What do I do? How do I do it? Right? You don't have to know the how. All you have to do is start asking. And this is where I love my support teams. I myself have a coach. I'm in a mastermind group. I have supportive friends that are like-minded. So if I get stuck, I always ask for support. I don't stay stuck long, because then I'm in suffering, and suffering isn't getting me out and moving me forward. So what I always do, and what I like to do, what I did for myself when I was in my own journey moving out of this space, is I took a sheet of paper and I wrote on it, what do I want? And my what do I want column was like, I didn't even know what I wanted. I was going through my divorce. I'll never forget this. And my girlfriend said to me, Karen, what's your dream? And I went, my what? She says, what's your dream? And I'm like, I had no relatedness to a dream. I went home, I left her perplexed, and I looked it up and I cried my eyes out because I could not even relate to what the thought of a dream was. And then I said, okay, well, what do I want? Well, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. Start with that. Start your list of all the things you don't want, right? If you're out there in the dating world, you know all the things you don't want, right? But once you get to all the things you don't want, what's the opposite of that, right? If your health and well-being is da-da-da-da-da-da, same list, what's the opposite, right? Once you get down to what you want, what are your priorities, right? What are your values? We look at all of that stuff. And most people don't even know what their values are. Right? They'll say to me, what's a value? And one of the things I have I don't have a contract that I have my clients sign. I have a agreement. It's a relationship agreement. And one of the things that we agree upon from get-go is you have to have a dictionary, because words are your wands. They create your reality. And what you think about, you bring about it. We shared that earlier, right? So what do you want in your life? We got to identify what you want first. And then how are we going to shift those words that are going in line with what you say you want to create in your life? And then we build from there. Once we start building from there, we now have the foundation laid and we can start exploring and playing. And if it doesn't look good or feel good here, no one says you have to stick on that, right? That's the power and the beauty of free will. You get to go and do and become anything you want. Yeah, and it takes trust and faith and confidence and courage and self-worth, self-esteem. That's things that we build along the way, because most people, I didn't know what that was. I had no idea. And I was like, oh my God, my life is over. And, I was so the victim. And it got old really fast, and I lost a lot of friends because most people don't want to be in that negative energy. And I made a choice. I made a decision. That's it. And I just figured out what's my best next first step that's going to get me one step closer. My next best, my next. And here I am today giving back because I believe in givers get. I believe in being a servant leader. And
wow.
Yeah.
Well, I like that because, again, what's my first step, my next first step, my next first step, my next first step, because that's, how do you get out of, a hole, or how do you climb a ladder? Like one step at a time, you just have to keep doing the same kind of activity kind of repeatedly in order to get to the top of the ladder or walk out of a ditch or something like that. A lot of people sit there and they go, oh, I don't know how, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do. But people make decisions countless thousands of times a day. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the restaurant.
I'm going to eat this.
I'm going to watch this show. I'm going to have pizza for supper. I'm going to have vegetables for. They're making countless numbers of decisions. I'm going to turn right at the stoplight. I'm going to go. All you have to do is decide.
Right.
You know what I mean? You make a decision. You go, I'm going to do this. They go, well, I don't know if I'm going to stick with it. Well, what is it that gets you like to the gym one day? You go, I'm going to go to the gym, and you do. And how is that different from I'm going to go to the gym? Well, maybe I won't.
Well, it's different because there are underlying patterns that go on. Remember we talked about earlier, doctors treating the symptoms? Right. Well, we're treating our own symptoms without realizing it because we have patterns, habitual patterns that have been running our show for years and years and years and years. And until you start identifying them, it's going to be more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. And it's like, my daughter said to me last week, I think it was, Mom, you've been on a perpetual diet. Whoa, awareness. What am I going to build with that? That's the question in my mind immediately goes to. wow, I wasn't even aware that I was on this lifelong, and now it's like I stepped into a space of acceptance, meeting yourself where you're at. Okay, what can I build with that? Wow, I can start making better healthy food choices. I can start walking more. It's like moving that log again. Let's find 50 resourceful, there are 2,000, if not more, resourceful ways of doing that. And the more resourceful I get, the more I align my authenticity with source. And I become one with others. So this way, if I get stuck, I can go, Rex, you're really good at this. And, I'm stuck right now. Would you support me? More than likely you're going to go, of course, Kara, or I would do the same for you or whomever else. I mean, that's what we do, because we who are out there lifting others want to stay in that space of lift ourselves. So this way, by the more I'm clearing myself, the more I can be present for you. I mean, that's the bottom line. So I'm constantly excavating and digging. And do I like it? Sometimes it stinks. It really does. And I'm like, okay, I'll deal with that one. It's life, right? We're human. Cut yourself some great and celebrate. We don't celebrate enough. We don't celebrate our successes. And I was one of them. And I didn't even realize it. I was getting, Sikes, you mentioned earlier, Sikes International. That's what I put on my vision board years ago. I want to be an international business. And I forgot about it, right? And I was like pulling all these things in my cart and with the carrot stick in front of the horse, and it's pulling it. And it was getting heavy. And I realized I never celebrated one of them.
Wow.
I just kept going.
Well, that is so true. I mean, I argue celebrate everything, because what is the alternative? It's like either you celebrate or you don't. And if you don't, then what are you doing? It's one thing if you're okay and you're not celebrating. It's another thing if you're miserable and you're not celebrating. So the choice is do what makes you feel the best and to move forward. I love what you're saying, and I love what you're pointing out here. And the thing is that, when you talk about people's patterns, those very same patterns that hold people back are oftentimes the very same patterns that have saved their lives in other circumstances or other contexts or other situations.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with the patterns that we have. It's how do we tie the right pattern to the thing we want to do versus, because people will say, oh, I'm sabotaging myself, or I don't do this, or I don't do that. And they start beating themselves up,
right,
instead of going, I'm a miraculous walking miracle who has all these patterns and all these habits and all these things, and I've got so much going for me. Instead, they get to rag on themselves, and they get bad. It's like people, I don't like my nose, I don't like my butt, I don't like my this, I don't like my bank account. I mean, anybody can express that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But finding the resources, the possibilities, and the opportunities that allow someone to move forward and to feel wonderful and to feel better is truly, I think, where value is. Like, for example, if you go to a friend and you say, I have a ghost here, apparently over here. If you go to a friend and you say, tell me, what should I do? And the friend gives you advice. And you go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Why not give yourself advice the same way a friend would give you advice? I mean, in other words, be your own best friend is what I hear you say. Encourage yourself, nurture yourself, be your best friend, find the things that are positive, find the things that are optimistic, find the things to celebrate. You may sift through all these other things, but the idea is that if you take care of your well-being, you take care of your mental, physical, emotional health, then everything starts to change, the things start to open up, right, that you can find more possibilities, opportunities, and resources, and your life starts moving, kind of on its own.
Absolutely. And you just hit the nail on the head, because like attracts like. Right? That's sort of how you and I got together, right? Like attracts like. When you start shifting from the negative for me is like being in a cave, with a flashlight going, I can't really see, but I'm too fearful, and we live in fear, and then nothing moves, right? Or we just don't know what we don't know, and we're going to stay in this safe space of being in the cave, but there's a whole world outside this cave. And until you shine the flash, even when you light a match, right? Even in the dark, there's light. So, but once you start shining that light and brightening that light and enhancing that light, what's going to happen is people are going to be drawn to you. Like attracts like. Opportunities are going to fall in your lap. Money's going to be thrown at you as a result of, because people are going to say, I resonate. I like what that person's saying, and I want more of that. Right? We've been there. We've done that. And the result is now we want to make your life easier, quicker, faster, so you don't have to go through all it's been a challenging journey. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I'm sure you as well, Rex. I mean, I personally have invested a bucket load of more than two college degrees, if not more, in my personal growth and development, because that's where it started for me, personal growth and development. And then I started doing all these other things because the human mind, the human psyche fascinated the heck out of me. And if I got to know who I was, I knew I could lift them and support them and keep them from the floor like my mother was on the floor. 19 medications in because she had a low self-worth, so low self-esteem, and she did not know how. And she had a Mensa IQ. No crap. Mensa IQ. But she was stuck in that, I don't know, right? I'm a result of that. I grew up with her, right? I'm like, this isn't working for me. And it made me feel this small and literally made me feel like I was never enough. I could never be enough. And then my expectations were so high. So when I started creating the awareness of all of that, I started pulling back on those, going, wow, that's a pattern I've had. Is it serving me? Is it not? Right? And I always ask the questions, but I've learned what questions to ask after all these years, right? So now through my daily journaling, and boy, did I went kicking and screaming down that journey lane. Journaling was something that I thought it was like, oh, I went to the bathroom at 5:00 and then I went to breakfast with my girlfriend and had coffee and pink. It's nothing like that. Journaling is more the self exploration. Like, first off, knowing what you want. So if you're working on a project, how do you know when you're there if you don't create steps to get there? Same with your finances, same with a relationship, same with your health and well-being. You've got to know where you want to be and where you want to go. And this way, when you reverse engineer it, most people look at me like, what? Right? Well, that's what we're here for. We support you in getting those steps in place and then keeping you accountable. So you've got somebody, I like to say, and this is my catchphrase, I'm the wind beneath your wings. I want to be there to lift you into your greatness. And you don't see it like we see it because you're in it. You're in it this way. I see it like this. And it excites me, as I'm sure it excites you, Rex, because you've been doing this forever as well, right? That's our payback. Seeing people succeed is, and we get compensated for doing what we love doing. And you could be too. That's the beautiful part about it.
It's so amazing because, in my younger days, I used to think I was quite stoic. Things would make me really laugh or cry. I was, very. Now I'll watch somebody on America's Got Talent and I'll weep, going, oh my gosh, what a moment for this person. Or, oh my goodness, the talent that they exuded. Doesn't matter what they are, but they're just these things. I've done this like for 50 years, the ability to see people make changes, small, large, in between, whatever, is so inspiring and so just, it's like moments of awe, where you're like standing in this like vista and you just can't even get the words to describe it. Somebody who's had a problem for a while, might be really significant or whatever, even if it's not, and they have this breakthrough, and for them it's this eureka moment. It's just I don't even know how to. There aren't even words for that.
It's like an ignite moment. It's like your whole life changes in that instant, mostly for the good.
And to be a part of that is something so just privileged. It's such a privilege. I don't even have I don't even have a word for it. I've felt that, and I sure do. I was born for this. This is what we do. But to be able to do it is the best thing in the world. To be able to be there for someone else when they have a need, and to be able to either hold their hand or to help them or take care of them or inspire them or something in some way. and to see them, because I always say I'm like a football quarterback, not the star of the team, but the guy who passes the ball or throws the hands off the ball so that the other person scores.
Right.
They run the ball in, they make the touchdown, they make the play or whatever. It's that because I argue you can't teach anybody anything. They learn it, but you can't teach it. You can present it, but you can't make them get it. Like you can't make a horse drink. You can lead it to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right.
It is such a place of privilege.
Absolutely.
To be with another person when they have those moments, and even in their problem moments when they have those insights. Wow, I mean, it's just amazing.
It is amazing. And that's why I gravitate. I mean, when we did the book together, Rex, we were both in the book. We had a chapter in Healthopedia. I remember going to Boca. You were probably the one person, and I don't know why it was, but intuitively, I'm like, you're the one person I want to meet. And for whatever reason, you were unable to get there. But it was like, I was so inspired by who you are. And that's what I love about this journey. There are people there to inspire you, and I hope and pray that there'll be one little nugget that inspires you. But that's how life works, right? We're there to lift each other in the space. It's not a me, I. I'm doing this for myself because, I'm better than him or better than her. No, it's like we're in it together to live. Can you imagine what the world would be like? Just for a moment. Right? Imagine, this is where I love, and this is the road I go down with clients often, is using your curiosity, the curiosity of a child, right? The curiosity and wonder. Imagine what the world would look like if we all stepped into that optimism, right? And I'm not saying drippy, like, oh, today is going to be a, wonderful thing. It doesn't work like that, because there are going to be highs and lows. It's who you're going to be and how you're going to respond rather than react to the situation that's going to make all the difference in your life. And most people haven't learned that skill set. And that's where I love the like-minded community, because we lift each other. And then it's like, wow, Rex, I heard you say this thing about, react. Like, what is that? I want to know more about that. And then once you have awareness, it's knowledge, right? Knowledge is just knowledge until you apply it, right? If you don't apply it, it's just sitting on a shelf. It's like a book, all those books in your library you've never read, they're just sitting there. Get rid of them, right?
Yeah, it's so amazing. I say that Pollyanna is one of the most disparaged people on the planet. People are like, oh, you're Pollyanna, oh, the rosy thing. You know what? She had the ability to look at a situation and reframe it, and find the good and emphasize the good. It's not about the drippy, like you said, the drippy, syrupy kind of overly optimistic, positive, like greeting card mentality kind of stuff. It is the application of being able to take a problem and look at it from different areas, either from above and below, behind it, or from different points of perspective, to see through whatever the problem was. It's like why Einstein said the solution to problem, the problem can't be solved from the same level at which it was created. It has to come from someplace else.
Absolutely.
And that's what Pollyanna, that's what people who can reframe, that's what people who own their attitude and go, you know what, I'm not going to let this stop me, because they have a way of seeing past where other people stop. Where the 98 stop, the 2 that make it through, as Napoleon Hill is, they are able to take their mental abilities and be agile with them enough to see, again, opportunities or possibilities or resources where other people wouldn't normally see them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And perspective is everything. To me, that's part of the communication aspect of life. When we start communicating, when we create the awareness, right, we have something to stand on. And then once we shift the awareness into an actionable step, is I say, what am I going to build with it? What are you going to do with that information, right? You can't get rid of it. So, all right, now it's sort of sitting there. Is it going to support me to go down this road? Is it going to support me to move that log? Is it better to move this log over here first? Or, when you start looking at becoming resourceful, you realize you're not alone, or you don't have to be alone to make those decisions, to make those things. And I remember when I was starting my journey, I have a lot of mentors. I did Napoleon Hill for years and years and years. And Napoleon Hill talked about who you're going to have the 10 people sitting at your table, right? Well, Dr. Wayne Dyer was mine, and my goal was to meet him. But unfortunately, he died before I got that opportunity. But I did not let that stop me. And I remember hearing him say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. My brain heard it, right? We hear it all. I'm auditory and visual, right? However we heard it, it changed my life forever, because my brain heard it. When you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. That took me to South Africa, making a difference in the school systems in South Africa. I had no idea what I was going down there or what I was doing, or I have no idea. I mean, you just be you. You show up in your authentic self, and you become the wind beneath whomever's.
Wow. Karen, we're at that time where we're just about having to say so long. But before we do, I want to again point out that they can visit you at tranquilsolutions.com. We'll put that back up in just a moment. But in the meantime, people go to www.rexsikestv.com. In the meantime, use the www. For some reason, whatever's going on weirdness with the internet, if you don't put www in, it'll say page not available. So
Right.
for now, we'll get it fixed, but there's some weirdness going on. So you can watch this replay. You can share this replay from there, or you can go to the Create Your Best Life. I'll get that up here too, where Create Your Best Life YouTube channel. There are live videos there. This video will be there. You can get the link, copy the link, and share it on your social media so that you can share Karen and what she's talking to us about with all your friends and your family and your neighbors and strangers. So go ahead and share it. But as we wrap up here, is there something that you want to say or give or tell people to do or to visit you? Or by the way, you also have a podcast. I mean, and so, but you do so many different things. An offer or something that you have for the people that's available?
I have an offer that's going to support you in mastering not just I say stressors, but plug in finances, relation, whatever it is. I have a free offer of a PDF on my website. It's www.tranquilsoul, SOUL, soul.
And it's scrolling beneath, yeah.
That's scrolling now. Solutions.com. Karen Karen Rudolf with an F, because there's another Karen Rudolf running around out there. But that is a good place to start. Feel free to reach out with any questions. I am the one who always answers my socials. You don't get my VA or anybody else. I'm the one who will answer for you. If we can't find an answer for you, I will jump on a call and we will find it together. I'm here to support and lift you. And if you find that it's a match, it's a match. We'll just rock out from there. But in the meantime, feel free. I'm always available. And I love what we do. So why not continue doing it? It keeps, I met somebody recently, are you going to retire? I'm at retirement age, supposedly. It's like, no, I love what I do. Why would I want to do that? Right? And I could do it anywhere in the world. I'm in Colorado right now. So yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I'm going to ask you to hang around. I'm going to say goodbye and just hang around in the green room while I close out the show for a moment. I would have said this earlier, but I forgot to. So I have to say it live on the air. It has been a complete thrill and a delight to have you here. I've been a guest on Karen's show, her podcast. It's a beautiful, wonderful show. So check her out at her website there that you see it scrolling, or that you see it there under her countenance, and be sure to check that out. But I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
And thank you for coming back. I mean, and facing what you faced both times with Helena and Milton and what was happening, and being here and being a beacon of light for all the people who are going through, a very similar situation, either physically in Florida or whatever they're going through in their life.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege as always. And I'm so grateful to you. Thank you, Rex. Love what you're doing.
Thank you so very much. We'll see you in just a couple minutes. Thank you. So I just want to say that I have been delighted to have you here watching. I hope that you will go and get the replay and share that with other people. and comment and subscribe to the show and leave comments or ask questions or hit the likes, do whatever you do in social media. That would be really wonderful. As we close, I'm just going to tell you about something. I have reopened and relaunched and reinstituted and reinstigated my Einstein and Tesla creativity course that's now available. And for a limited time, it's at a low price, and the price is going to go up. And I'm just going to give you the website here. It's www.rexsikes.com/Einstein. If you go there, just go read what it has. It's a bunch of videos, workbooks. There's 10 different modules. You're going to love it. It's Einstein and Tesla. What they did were able to use their imagination, their ability to visualize, to problem solve, to be creative, and to use their intuition. And so if that's something that appeals to you, being able to use your brain more efficiently through whole brain and learning techniques and be able to access your creativity through the theta state, the brain waves, and all the different kinds of stuff, to be more intuitive, to problem solve, and to live the life that you want, go and check out Create Your Best Life using Einstein and Tesla's Genius. And that's my program. You can get it at rexsikes.com/Einstein. I'll see you in the program. Meanwhile, as Karen has said, and I said, if you consider something a problem, it will be a problem. And if you consider it a blessing, it will be a blessing. Point is to celebrate everything. And with that, I'll see you the next time. Thank you so much. My next guest, I don't have the graphics. I was going to get him today, is Scott Jones. He's coming up. He's an expert in the area of addiction and issues regarding that. He helps countless organizations understand how to work with people who have had addiction problems. And you're going to want to pay attention to it because it goes beyond, what seems to be obvious. I'll see you the next time. Celebrate everything. I'm Rex Sikes. You've been watching Create Your Best Life with Rex. Please share it and have a beautiful and fantastic day. Bye for now.